The sun was just rising when Ion quietly stepped out of his small apartment, locking the door behind him. He looked back for a moment, a soft smile on his face, because inside, still asleep, was a woman he loved more than anything, Maya. But today wasn't like any other day. Ion wasn't going to work. He wasn't meeting friends. He wasn't running errands. He was planning something Maya had absolutely no idea about. For weeks, Ion had been saving every extra rupee he could, skipping lunch, walking instead of taking transport, working overtime without telling her. She thought he was simply busy. She thought he was tired. She thought he was stressed from work. But the truth was, he was building a surprise he prayed would change everything. As he walked into the small workshop at the end of the street, the elderly craftsman greeted him. Beta, AJ final touch lag Jaga. The man smiled. Ion nodded nervously. His hands trembled as he reached into his pocket, pulling out the last bit of money he had. The craftsman revealed a small velvet box. Simple, elegant, beautiful. Inside it was the one thing Ion had dreamed of giving Maya. A custom-made necklace with her mother's birthstone, something she once cried about losing years ago. He imagined her face, her tears, her joy. He imagined that moment when she would realize everything he had been hiding, every secret late shift, every excuse, every long night. It was all for her. He held the box tight in his hand, took a deep breath, and whispered, "She has no idea, but tonight everything will change." Ion stepped out of the workshop holding the velvet box like it was the most precious thing in the world. The streets were slowly waking up, vendors setting up their stalls, the smell of fresh bread drifting through the air. But he barely noticed any of it. His mind was consumed by one thought. How will Maya react? He imagined her smile, but immediately his chest tightened with fear. What if she didn't understand why he had been so distant? What if she thought he was hiding something worse? What if the surprise didn't feel like love, but like betrayal? These thoughts haunted him as he walked towards a bus stop. During the ride, he kept running his thumb over the velvet box, drawing courage from it. The city passed by in a blur, tall buildings, busy roads, people rushing, but Ion felt like he was in a world of his own. Because for the past month, Maya had been hurting silently. He remembered the night she sat on the couch, her back facing him. Her shoulders were shaking. He approached her slowly. "Maya Kiahua?" She wiped her tears quickly. "Nothing. I'm fine." But Ion wasn't stupid. He saw the way she avoided eye contact. He saw how she had been forcing a smile lately, how she hesitated before speaking, how she watched him leave earlier and come home later. In her eyes, he saw fear, the kind people feel when they think they're losing someone they love. But she couldn't know the real reason behind his distance. She couldn't know he was working secretly, saving secretly, planning secretly, because the surprise he was preparing, it wasn't just a gift, it was a way to heal an old wound. 2 years ago, Maya had lost her mother's necklace, the only thing she had left from her childhood. She blamed herself endlessly. She cried for nights. And though Ion comforted her, he always felt helpless, as if he could never truly give her what she lost. Until one day, he saw a picture she kept hidden in her drawer, her mother holding her, both smiling, the necklace shining around her mother's neck. That was the moment the idea was born. Ion spent days searching for a craftsman who could recreate it. The design was delicate, the stone rare, the work expensive. But he didn't hesitate even once. He worked part-time at a warehouse, carried boxes twice his weight, tolerated a supervisor who shouted at him for no reason, walked home late at night, exhausted, starving, but hopeful. Every coin saved brought him closer to this moment. He looked up at the morning sky and smiled, whispering, "Just a little longer." Meanwhile, at home, Maya woke up to an empty bed. Again, for a moment, she stared at the ceiling, wondering how everything had changed so suddenly. A month ago, Ion used to wake her with a joke, a warm smile, or a cup of tea. They used to laugh together in the mornings. They used to talk. But now, he left before she woke up, came home after she was asleep, barely spoke, avoided her eyes. She placed her hand on the cold pillow beside her and whispered, What's happening to us, Ayan? Her fears weren't wild. Her mind kept replaying that evening when he came home smelling different, like a metal workshop. When she asked him, he simply said, "Yes, calm." But what work? Where? Why not tell her? Slowly, doubts crawled into her heart. Not because she didn't trust him, but because she loved him too much. She sat at the dining table, staring at the cup of tea growing cold. Her phone buzzed, notifications from friends, a few messages from work. But the one thing she wished for, a message from Ayan, wasn't there. She typed, "Good morning, are you okay?" Then erased it. Typed again. Deleted again. She didn't want to seem clingy, desperate, insecure. But her heart felt heavy. Finally, she whispered to herself, "Agar womuj dor jarahai, mui parada honachai." Her eyes filled with tears. Just then, her phone vibrated. Ayan had sent one message. "I'll be home by evening. Don't make any plans." She stared at the text for a long moment. No heart emoji. No smile. Nothing warm. Just plain words. She closed her eyes and murmured, "Shayet wokuch kena chadahai." And that scared her even more. Back on the other side of town, Ayan stopped at a florist shop. He didn't want anything fancy, just her favorite white lilies. He remembered the first time she told him why she liked them. "White lilies smell like peace," she had said. He bought a bouquet and held it tightly, imagining placing it in her hands tonight. He imagined her asking, "Ayan, what's all this?" And he imagined finally telling her everything. Why he worked late, why he disappeared, why he was so secretive. But the thought of seeing her cry, even from happiness, made his heart race. The florist noticed his nervous smile. "Special day?" the man asked. Ayan nodded. "Bahut special." He walked toward home with the flowers in one hand and the velvet box safely tucked inside his pocket. With every step, his fear, excitement, hope, and love mixed into a whirlwind of emotions. Tonight was going to change everything. But little did he know, Maya was preparing to confront him, believing she might lose him. And that misunderstanding would make the surprise even more powerful. Evening settled slowly over the city, soaking the streets in shades of amber and purple. The neighborhood lights flickered awake one by one. And inside the small apartment, a storm was gathering quietly. Maya stood by the window, arms wrapped around herself as she watched the road below. Cars passed, children ran across the street, neighbors chatted on balconies. The world moved normally, but her heart was beating too fast. She kept checking the clock. 6:45 p.m. Ayan had said he'd be home by evening. His words played in her mind repeatedly. Don't make any plans. If he wanted to talk, why did his voice feel distant? Why did his eyes feel guilty these past weeks? Why did he hide his phone more? Her thoughts spiraled. She tried to calm herself, but her mind whispered unbearable possibilities. What if he met someone else? What if he's going to end things? What if this is the last evening we spend together? Her throat tightened. She closed her eyes and took a shaky breath. Then the sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway. Thump, thump, thump. Maya's heart stopped. Ayan was home. She didn't move. She couldn't. The door unlocked softly. Ayan stepped in quietly, holding the bouquet of white lilies behind his back and trying not to smile too widely. His eyes immediately found her, silhouetted against the window, looking heartbreakingly fragile. He whispered, "Maya." She turned slowly. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, and exhaustion in her expression made his heart sink. He took one step toward her, but she stepped back, just slightly but enough to make him freeze. Ayan swallowed. "Kihwa." His voice trembled without meaning to. Maya stared at him for a long moment before saying softly, "Ayan hum thik na?" Ayan blinked. "Thik?" "Maya." "Sach pateo," she interrupted gently. "Kucho raha hai na? Tum pickle mahin esi betelgeho. Tum dor hogeho." He felt the breath leave his chest. She continued, her voice shaking. "I wake up, you're gone. I sleep, you're not back. Tumri ankon main, wo warmth nahi hodi. Shade main high feel karahi hoon, but..." "Maya!" He tried again. She stepped closer, tears finally spilling over. Please, Agar Koi or Hai Badadu. Muijit Esi Zayada, Sach Taklif Nahidita. The words hit him like a punch. For a moment he stood frozen, unable to process how deeply she had been hurting, how much she had misunderstood, how his silence had created wounds he never intended. He slowly placed the flowers on the table. Maya married Tarap Deko. She lifted her teary eyes. And that was it. The moment his heart cracked, he stepped forward carefully, almost afraid she would pull away. But she didn't. She just stood there, trembling. Ayan cupped her face gently, wiping her tears with his thumbs. Mary John main tumsi dor naihun. Nahai kabi ho saktahun. BAS main kuchkarada. Tum hairliye. Humarliye. She searched his eyes, desperate for truth. Fur yes sabkyan, she whispered. Ayan exhaled slowly, pulling away just enough to reach into his jacket pocket. Main tumsi kutchapea, pardoka naidia. He held the velvet box tightly. Maya's eyes widened. Fear, hope, confusion, all tangled in one expression. Ayan took her hand and guided her to the couch. They sat side by side. Silence hovered for a few seconds. Then he spoke softly, each word carrying weight. You remember your mother's necklace? Maya froze. Her breath caught in her throat. Her heart, the memory, the grief, everything came rushing back. The necklace she lost, her mother's last gift, her most precious memory. Her voice cracked. Ayan, womat ya deleo. He nodded gently. I know how much it meant to you. I saw your pain when it went missing. Tum kud keo kitna blame kia. Her eyes softened, her expression breaking. Ayan continued, his voice full of guilt and love. I couldn't take that pain away. But I promised myself one day, main wo tum wapas dunga, exactly the way it was. Maya stared at him, frozen, shocked, speechless. Ayan placed a velvet box in her hands. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside lay the exact replica of her mother's necklace. Same design, same delicate chain, same light blue gemstone that shimmered like morning sky. Maya gasped. Her hands flew to her mouth. Tears spilled instantly and uncontrollably. Her body shook as she whispered, No, Ayantum yekais. He smiled softly, brushing her hair back. Main pikolek mahinesi extra jobs karada. Warehouse, workshop, delivery shifts. Ratkeo thak karger jada. The par jabmui tumri tasviriadaditi. Main for kataho jada. Her tears flowed faster. He leaned closer, his forehead touching hers. I didn't want to tell you, because I wanted to see your smile today. I wanted this moment to be perfect. Tumri kushi meri har taklif mita dedi hai. Maya broke into a soft sob. Ayan, mui lagatum mudstor jaraiho. Her voice cracked. Mui lagatum thak geho muds. He shook his head immediately, cupping her face firmly. Never. Maya, do you hear me? Never. Her hands clutched his shirt as she whispered, Main sosha shead koyer hogi. Ayan's heart twisted painfully. He pulled her into his arms, held her tightly, stronger than ever, as if promising she would never feel alone again. There's no one else, he whispered into her hair. Only you, always you. Maya cried against his chest. The kind of cry that releases weeks of fear, doubt, and bottled up emotion. Ayan didn't rush her. He didn't speak. He just held her while her heart healed slowly in his arms. After a long moment, she pulled back slightly, wiping her tears, still stunned. Ayan, tammui batai kyanai. He smiled sadly. Because you always say you want memories more than gifts. So I wanted today to become a memory. Maya shook her head, her smile trembling through tears. You're crazy, she whispered. Ayan laughed softly, a warm sound that filled the room again after weeks. Surf Tumherlia. He gently lifted the necklace from the box. May I? He asked quietly. Maya nodded, turning around as she lifted her hair. His fingers brushed against her skin, soft, warm, familiar. He clasped the necklace around her neck. When she turned back around, the blue stone lay perfectly against her skin. She touched it lightly, as if afraid it would disappear. It's really hers, she whispered. It is hers, Ayan said softly, because everything she loved now lives in you. Maya's eyes glowed, full of love, relief, and overwhelming gratitude. She leaned in and kissed his forehead. Ayan, thank you, thank you, thank you. He took her hands. Maya echoed Bahai. Her breath hitched again. She stared at him, scared again but hopeful. Ayan took a deep breath. He reached into his pocket again. This time, he pulled out a tiny ring box. Maya froze completely. Her lips parted. He opened the ring box slowly. A delicate ring sparkled inside. Maya, will you marry me? Her hands flew to her mouth again as tears poured down her cheeks, but this time from pure happiness. She nodded through sobs. Yes, yes, Ayan. Yes. Ayan stood, laughing with relief as he slipped the ring onto her finger. Maya threw her arms around him, hugging him tight enough to steal his breath. In that moment, all the doubts, all the fears, all the silence, all the misunderstandings melted away completely. They stood wrapped in each other's arms while the city lights shimmered outside the window, as if celebrating with them. Tonight, their love didn't just survive. It transformed. In the warm glow of the setting sun, the entire village gathered beneath the ancient baobab tree, the same tree where generations had resolved conflicts, celebrated unions, and spoken uncomfortable truths. The air was heavy with anticipation, and yet filled with something else, a quiet hope, trembling on the edges of the wind. Elder Mama Koko stood at the center, her staff planted firmly in the earth. Her voice rose gently, carrying across the crowd. Today, we will close a chapter that fear tried to open. The people murmured in agreement. Moments later, Ella stepped into the circle. She looked small, shaken, and humbled, but there was a new strength in her eyes. The village watched silently. Even those who had once whispered against her now couldn't help but feel the shift inside her presence. Daniel walked forward and stopped at her side. His voice trembled, not with anger, but with quiet longing. Ella, you should have told me, he said. I want to protect you, not test you, not hurt you, just protect you. Ella lowered her gaze. I know, and I'm sorry. I didn't hide the truth to deceive you. I hid it because I thought if you knew how broken my life had been, you wouldn't want me anymore. A hush fell across the gathering. She took a breath, slow, deep, painful, and then she spoke the truth she had feared all her life. I grew up in a home where honesty was punished, where mistakes were beaten, where silence was safety. So I carried silence with me, even when I didn't need it anymore. I wasn't lying to hurt you, Daniel. I was lying to survive old ghosts. For a moment, even the wind held still. Elder Mama Koko finally stepped forward, her wise eyes soft. The past shapes us, she said, but it should never chain us. She turned to the villagers. You all watched this story unfold. You heard many versions of it, but only the spirit sees the truth beneath the leaves. So today, Ella will face a final test. Not because she must prove her worth to Daniel, but because she must prove her worth to herself. Ella lifted her chin, breathing shakily. I'm ready, she whispered. Mama Koko nodded. She pointed to a small clay pot, placed at the center of the circle. Inside this pot, the elder said, is a truth you do not know, and all you must do is face it without fear. The pot was a symbol, ancient, sacred, and used only in moments of deep reckoning. Ella stepped forward. Her hands trembled, but she lifted the lid. Inside was a single broken mirror. The villagers gasped. Some understood immediately. Others waited. Mama Koko raised her staff. This mirror is not here to show your face, she said gently. It is here to show your courage, because only the brave can look at their broken pieces and not run. Ella stared into the fractured glass. Her reflection was jagged, scattered, imperfect, and still she didn't look away. Tears welled in her eyes, but she held steady, breathing through the ache. Daniel stepped closer, voice soft. Ella, look at me. She turned, and in that moment, he didn't see fear. He didn't see shame. He saw a woman stronger than anyone he had ever known. He extended his hand. Come back home, he said. No more secrets. No more running. Just truth between you and me. Ella took his hand. The villagers erupted in warm applause, gentle, approving, proud. Mama Koko smiled. You have both learned, she said, that love cannot live where fear is fed, and truth cannot shine where silence is worshipped. She raised her staff one final time. Let this be a lesson to us all. The heart that hides itself cannot be chosen, but the heart that stands bare, even when trembling, will always find its rightful place. The sun dipped behind the horizon. The circle broke into celebration. Drums began to echo softly in the distance as the village wrapped itself around the newly restored couple. And so, the story found its ending, not with punishment or pride, but with courage, honesty, and compassion lighting the path forward. For even in the shadows of broken truths, love is always waiting to rise.